I remember a specific parent-teacher conference when I was a junior in high school. And the reason I remember it so well is I was pretty excited about it. It was probably going to be the first conference where my mother did not come home with the word like, Marla likes to visit with certain people. So I knew those comments weren't going to be there. And also, my report card had all A's. So I was surprised when my mom came home and sat me down and said, one of the teachers informed me that you're not living up to your potential. And Mom says, well, I asked her, didn't she get an A in your class? And she said, yes, she did. I know Marla knows the material, but I don't think she's learning it. And at first I thought, well, what's the difference between knowing it and learning it? But there is a big difference. Sometimes we know something for the length of time that we need to know it. Like we know something for a test, we know something in order to give a speech or to perform a certain task. But that doesn't mean that we have incorporated it enough into our lives to really learn it. Same is true with people. We might recognize the face of someone, we might at some point know their name, but until we've had a few conversations with them, until we've had a little bit more of a relationship with them, we don't really learn who they are. Hopefully that is not true with our faith, that there is that distinct difference between learning and knowing, where we know the 10 Commandments, but have we learned them well enough to fully incorporate them into our lives? We might know the Beatitudes, but have we learned them so that they help make us more compassionate disciples? We might know the words to the Our Father or to the Hail Mary, but have we really learned how to pray? There is that very distinct difference between knowing and learning. I think that distinction comes out in our readings today as well. Jesus is just finishing his discourse on the bread of life and talking to people about the strength with which they must follow him through all of those easy things to do as well as through the difficult things, that they are to give up their very lives for him, to follow him in all things. And some of the disciples who have been following him for a while say, this is too hard, and they choose to walk away. And so Jesus turns to the 12 and says, are you too going to leave? And Peter says, Lord, to whom would we go? You have the words of eternal life. It's interesting, he doesn't say, where would we go? He says, to whom would we go? You are the only one who truly is our guide, who truly is our leader, the one we desire to follow. We can't look anywhere else. In our reading from Joshua today, we have the Israelites who have already made it through the desert into the promised land. And we know that in the readings where they were wandering in the desert, there was a lot of grumbling and a lot of murmuring and a lot of complaining going on. We don't see that today, though. We see Joshua asking them, who do you want to serve? He says, as for me and my house, we are going to serve the Lord. But you need to decide today for yourselves as well. And the Israelites say, we remember everything God has done for us. We know how he led us through slavery into freedom. We know how he has fed us. We know how he has continually supported us. And so, of course, we will follow the Lord as well. Friends, that's the invitation each day for each one of us to answer that question for ourselves of who is it that you decide to follow. Decide today who you will serve. And hopefully as we look at the teachings of Jesus Christ, even those ones that are a little more difficult to follow, we still have that desire in our hearts to move away from simply knowing what those teachings are to learning them so that they definitely become a part of us, and so that as disciples, we each are living up to our potentials.